Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to the review. And as you may have noticed in the title, this is going to be kind of part 1 of the review. Now I'm going to cover basically as much as I can of this kit in this review, and there's a lot to go over, so I want to just get through this introduction very quickly. But I just want to make it clear to you guys that this part of the review, part 1, is not going to include the LED sheet here, this one, within the Gundam, because if you guys watched my live stream build of this, and in case you missed it, you can go back and watch that. I did build this kit live. I built it up without the LED sheet inside of it because I am going to be painting this kit up right away. So as soon as I'm done making this part of the review for you guys, I'm going to get to disassembling it and starting on the painting process for this, and then I'm going to paint it up, and then at that point I'll put in the LED sheet in it so that way I can have it all lit up once the kit is all built. But everything I've heard of the initial reviews so far is that the LED sheet in this is a little bit fragile and can be kind of easily broken if you're not careful. Now I thought I could be careful with it and I probably won't break it, but just in case, I decided not to risk it. And so in order to not risk breaking that, I haven't put the LED sheet in the kit yet. So we'll take a look at everything, the articulation of it, the details, everything that it comes with, and we'll also try some compatibility with the full armor set from the old Ver.Ka, and I'll see how that works on here. I'll show that all to you guys here in this first part of the review. And then once I got the kit all painted and the LEDs installed, then we'll take a look at the kit again, of course the finished product of my work on it, and at that point it'll have the full LED sheet in it. So just a reminder to you guys, if you do want to pick up the kit for yourself, you can still, I believe at the moment, pre-orders are still available at US Gundam Store for the first batch, and those should be due in around the end of September, if not beginning of October. Those should be in and be able to be shipped out to you guys if you get your pre-order in time. So as always, the link to US Gundam Store will be down below, as well as my coupon code there, ZakuAurelius10. That will save you 10%, especially on a big expensive kit like this. 10% will knock off a good chunk of that for you guys. So without any further ado, minus the LED sheet, let's get into the review here of the Unicorn Gundam Master Grade Extreme. Alright, so first just start off with the base kit, the Unicorn Gundam. It looks great. I love the added details. It doesn't really have a whole lot of added details, not necessarily like the real grade does. The details that this kit has basically over the original kit, the most noticeable differences anyway, would be just the little tiny bits of armor, all those like little dark specks you see around there, and like the extra little fins poking up at the top of the torso there, right, and like in front of the head and on the side of the head there. Those little bits of armor cutouts where you have little holes basically in the exterior armor that you get little bits of inner frame, like the dark color inner frame poking through all those little holes, and like I said, little fins sticking up. I like that added detail. That seems like something that they kind of started, I think probably most noticeably with the Hyakushiki 2.0 Master Grade, but something they've been doing for a while on a lot of these newer Master Grades is making these little tiny cutouts where you're seeing little bits of inner frame poking out, and it's pretty cool. I do also like the addition of the little fins added up on the top there. Not everyone may not like that added detail though, but I think it's a nice little detail to add to the Unicorn here. And so let's go ahead and go through the articulation of this kit. Now do keep in mind that once the LED sheet is installed, it is going to hinder the articulation slightly, but based on what I've seen of it so far, I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference, but it's just something to keep in mind. Like for example, you won't be able to turn the arm 360 degrees once the LED sheet is in there, but probably none of you are really going to want to do a pose like this or something, for example, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But starting off with the head here, you got to be careful how you hold it, because otherwise you're going to kind of pull the head apart for the transformation. But it looks like that is going to basically be it for the upward angle of the head, which is unfortunately not really as much as I would have liked. So a little bit more upward movement would have been nice for doing those really cool kind of signature unicorn flying poses like that through space. It looks pretty good, but I do wish that was maybe up a little bit more. And then it can go down plenty far all the way to there, so that's all good. The cockpit, of course, does open, and inside there, you've got your little seated Banagher Lynx figure. Obviously not going to be too easy to see at the moment, but one thing that's really cool about the cockpit is that you have two optional pieces for that, for like the kind of computer that goes like in front of Banagher. So you have a piece that you're supposed to put in if you're going to have it in unicorn mode, and then this is the piece you're supposed to use if it's in destroy mode, because you know the cockpit also kind of transforms in there. So that's pretty cool. Even though it's a hidden thing that no one's really ever going to see up in there, they went for like complete accuracy of making the cockpit transformable as well. So later on, I do plan on just ultimately displaying this in destroy mode, so I will switch this piece out later on. But back to the articulation, the shoulder joint will swing forward there like so, and then the shoulder armor will move by itself like that. You can bring the arm up to about 90 degrees to the body. Seems to be about the extent of that, which unfortunately I kind of wish was a little bit more, but again, I think with the wire in there, that's probably, you're not going to want it to go up too much farther than that. You'll be stretching too much wire up inside of there. And then that will rotate there at the top. You got a nice double joint here at the elbow that will give you a pretty full bend there. The beam tampas can swing out like that, and then you've got your beam saber handles there, of course, and then the wrist is just on a ball joint. really strangely, I don't know if any of you guys who also maybe have this kit already, or if you guys have seen other reviews or anything, this wrist seems more loose. My left wrist here seems a little bit loose. Not that the hand is gonna fall out, but that it doesn't seem very tight in there. The right side, it feels much more tight. I don't really know what that's about, but just a strange little thing there. Unfortunately, with this being a transforming unicorn kit, we don't really have much in the way of any movement here at the midsection, forward, back bend, anything like that. You just have a little bit of rotation, and that's going to be about it. Just because of the transformation, there's not really any good way to put in much of like a stomach crunch ab joint in there. And our skirt armor will move up to about there. The side skirts will move up to about there, not very far. So I think ultimately you're not going to be able to get the legs out totally out to the side. This seems to be about the extent of the horizontal movement there of the legs, but that I think seems plenty wide for any pose that you would likely want to do. And then around here on the back skirts also move up and down and everything there, also quite nice. On the backpack, nothing really moves except for like the transformation aspect of that, which we'll go over here in a little bit. The legs can come up to the front to about perpendicular to the body, 90 degrees like that. You got a nice double joint here in the knee, and you'll notice that's going to be about the extent of the knee bend, but what actually we have in here is that these parts here, which block the knee bend, are on a little hinge, so those actually can hinge out, and those will get out of the way so that you can bend the knee even farther all the way like that for a full knee bend, which is very nice to see. So that was the problem with the original Ver.Ka kit, is that when you bent the knee, you could only bend it like actually only like that much because this part would run into the thigh. And then it was fixed, but you could still only bend it so far because this piece was always in the way. But the new addition of turning that into like a little flap was a really ingenious idea to be able to bend that knee fully. And then down here at the ankles, you've got some nice side-to-side movement. Basically, the ankle joint goes together very similarly to the old MG. It's almost exactly the same how the ankle joint is constructed, but you got forward and back movement there. The front of the foot unfortunately doesn't bend at all, that's locked into place, but for the transformation, you know, that does kind of change the angle of this part of the front foot, but that's really going to be about it. Up underneath the feet, that's how that's going to be looking there, some nice detail anyway. Starting off on the more simple side of the accessories, you have an action-based connector. Now, normally if you have the LED system included with this, you won't have this cap here on the back skirt, but if you don't have the LED system in here, or you want to have it up and like not actually plugged into the LED base where the batteries are housed, then you can cover it up with this piece here. So there you go. That's where the plug-in place would be for the LED system right there, which connects it onto the arm of the base, which we'll see here in a minute. But if you're not using that, you have just your regular standard action-based connector, which will connect up underneath the waist there like a normal. And then we've got our 1/100 scale little figures here that were included with the MS base. Now these are not new for this particular kit. They're the same figures that have been included with the MS cage from the beginning when that was first available in 2010. So you got a little Benager Lynx here. You also have a little 100 scale Benager Lynx's father, as well as 1/100 scale Minerva Zabi / Audrey Byrne, and then Marita Cruz in her initial outfit that we see her at the beginning of the series. Now, I would have liked for her to be in her normal suit or something, but it's just nice to have a little Marita included in here. Now, what is new to this kit is this different figure of Cardius Fist here in the pose where he's dying, basically, at the beginning of the series. And the really cool thing about this is just that it's a really nice little figure here until you turn it around to the back, and there's this really unsightly hole in it. Now, I guess this is just a kind of defect, or not really a defect, but just a bad point of the molding process. I guess this to mold this tiny little figure in this pose like this with this much detail as all one piece and not making it a separate pieces or anything. There was no way to get around this mold pinhole there in the back, unfortunately, but it's just sad to see because it's a really nice figure. You'll just have to fill that in with a little putty or something, which is kind of a pain. But it's a nice little addition to add to this, not really expected. Moving on, we do also have the folding V-fin. Now you can use this when it's in unicorn mode and just have it folded up like that, but it's just not really ever gonna stay together well enough to look as good as the one that I have on here, which is just the one single piece. This would be the one that you'll use for when it's in destroy mode. Now you'll notice I've got those gold stickers on here. It did also come with a set of those stickers just in yellow if you prefer. Now this is something that people are complaining about with this kit, why you have to use stickers for it. I understand. Basically the only other option would have been for them to pre-paint the gold on there like they did with the PG kit, and honestly I agree they really should have done that with this kit. If this is supposed to be like the definitive version of the unicorn, just kind of in general on any grade at all, if this is supposed to be the best version of the kit and for how much it costs, they really should have just had this gold just pre-painted on those parts. So definitely points off for that. You'll have to paint that yourself, not really that big of a deal. It's very easy to paint. You just painted gold on this side, so it's not really that hard. But you'll notice here, just on a side note, on the sticker sheet, there are also stickers for the eyes, the head cameras, and then the unicorn kind of visor, unicorn mode visor there. I didn't put those on, and you won't want to put those on. I guess I probably could have, because I don't have the LED system included here at the moment, but if you're using the LED system, these are going to block the light, so you wouldn't really want to use those. But if for whatever reason you did want to use them, they are included in here as well. Now you have some different options for the hands as well. You have these just fixed pose closed fist, which I really like, and then you also have a set of fixed pose trigger finger hands, which are also quite nice, and they're pretty nicely detailed. I like the look of these. But if you're the kind of person that prefers fully articulated hands, you do have a set of those as well. I personally don't like these fully articulated hands. I prefer fixed pose, but you do have these as well if you wanted to. These would be good if you wanted to do any like open hand, like open expressive hand gestures or something like that. These would be better for that, obviously. I would just wish that we would have had also a third set of fixed pose hands for open expressive poses like this. But the thing about them is that if you wanted to have the hands back, or the fingers back, I mean something in a pose like this where the fingers have to bend back a little bit, they don't bend back any more than this. That's the extent of how far back they bend, so they actually aren't articulated very well. Like, you could do certain poses with them, of course, have them, you know, supporting the bazooka or something like that you can do, but if you wanted to do one of these type of poses like that, you won't be able to do it with this, unfortunately. And then we've also got these option parts here for the side of the arm. Now what these are for are when you have the shields plugged into the arm, you're going to replace this part, and that is because the LED light that's in there in the arm is then going to channel through the shield connector up into the shield, so you'll still be able to light up the shield while it's attached on here onto the arm. Because otherwise, if you have the shields connected as funnels onto the separate shield stands, then they have their own light that will be plugged into here through the back, so you see the light is channeled up through there. And so here's what the shields look like from the front. They look pretty much exactly the same. Really, the only part that's noticeably different is the fold out fins here are much thicker as well too, because it's like two parts that go together. On pretty much every other version of the Unicorn, it's just one solid piece there, but this is actually two parts sandwiched together there for the Psycho Frame part there. So it's quite a different look for that, a very noticeably different look for the Psycho Frame there in the shield. And these side parts are also a little bit different as well, so it's something different about this kit anyway, something unique. You have some shield connectors as well too, and you got two different types of connectors for them basically. If you're having the shields just connected straight onto the arm, you'll use this piece where this plugs into the side where it channels the light, as I mentioned before, and this just kind of clips onto the side of the arm as well. But if you're having the beam Gatling guns also attached onto the side of the arm, then you're plugging this basically onto the side of the beam Gatling guns, then you have a different connection piece for that. So I guess fully transformed, there is what that is going to look like that. So the shields look pretty good. You of course got your two clear pink beam saber effect parts, and then the beam magnum. Now if you guys saw the unboxing video, this is not new to this kit. There are a couple of new pieces, and basically how you can tell the difference is like the front half is all old, and then just these back few pieces here are new, basically giving it a new handle, and then a couple of the parts here are from a new runner, but that's basically it. So it still works the same, that you can slide that out and take out the ammunition there, and you've got two spares of that you can plug onto the back skirt, still same as before, so it just plugs right up onto here, right there on the back skirt for storage. And this also still has the same peg on the side there that will allow you to plug this up onto the back of the arm like that for storage on the back of the arm also. And if that didn't work for you, you have one more option where you can flip out the little tab here at the back right there like that, and then that will plug into the center of the backpack here for storage there if you prefer, just like that, straight on his back. But still, with the beam magnum not being a new mold for this kit, with them recycling that from the old kit, it doesn't really bother me all that much, because I don't really know what they would have done different with it. They could have maybe changed the detail of it a little bit slightly, which maybe would have been cool, but ultimately I think it looks great as it is. There's not really any reason to change it. They could have molded it, I guess, in a different way to avoid having this seam line down the middle of it there, but it's a rifle. Pretty much all beam rifles, in whether they're high grades, master grades, and even a lot of perfect grade kits have seam lines on them, so it's not really that big of a shock there. We do also have a sticker for the camera in there for the lens of that. Then we've also got the bazooka here. Now the bazooka as well, just like with the beam rifle, is not new. It's exactly the same as it was with the old master grade. You got a sticker for the lens of that one as well. The side handle flips out like that. This front handle does not move at all, but this front barrel does extend out like that. And then going around to the back, these parts are new, these parts that hold in the ammunition clip here, so that is removable, and this one can also be plugged onto the back skirt here, so you can store that on there like so. And then so for when this is stored, this is meant to close up in there, but these new parts are much better in this connection here now. These are the old parts that you'll use when you do want to store this. You'll just switch it out for the old parts, and that will just be able to slide close like that, and that's how you have it stored up here on the backpack. Just like with the beam magnum, you flip out that little tab there and it plugs here onto the center of the backpack like that. Now what is the difference between these parts is with the old kit, this part is kind of loose, and then when you have the ammunition clip plugged into there you go, that's in there like that, and it's just kind of loose. It doesn't really stay in there very well. It's not really held in very well by this piece. So what this new piece does is it gives you a much stronger connection with this. This back part here is plugged in there much more securely, so then when you plug this piece up into there, it's held on there much more securely than the old pieces, so that's good. And then the last weapon here that we have is the beam Gatling gun. Once again, this is just the same as with the old kit. It's the exact same mold, exact same runner as with the old kit, so nothing new about these. But again, I think there's not really much they really could have changed about this. They could have changed it so it doesn't have this seam line maybe on like this kind of ammo drum looking section there. But yeah, there wasn't really too much point to make a whole new design for the beam Gatling guns. So I personally don't really mind that very much. It seems kind of fine just as it is. The only thing that I don't like about the beam Gatling gun is that you have to build 6 of them, so it takes forever. Each beam Gatling gun has like 16 parts, I think it was, so you have almost 100 pieces just for these 6 beam Gatling guns alone, plus these new handle pieces that you have for that. So as you can see, each one of them does have its own handle on there, and that's the old handle, but with these new handles, it's a much different and I would say much better looking shape on there, so you can compare the new handle compared to the old handle. Obviously the new one looks a lot better. The old one though, I think just works a lot better in like a convincing look, as it's meant to look like something that's just meant to fold down just very simply, because most people are going to have them stored up like that with a handle and then put back up into place like that, so then you can then clip the two of these together to be able to be stored onto the side of the arm. Now I have these actually backwards, it's not the right ones there. There you go. So yeah, they look great, just as great as they looked before, and then those just clip onto the side of the arm. Put one on there first, and then put the other one in and lock them together like that at the top, and they look great, and it's a really nice strong connection there on the side of the arm, and you're not going to have any weight issues with this at all. I mean, they don't really weigh all that much, and the joints on this kit are pretty rock solid, so it looks really nice. So the last thing we need to talk about then, of course, is going to be the MS cage, but I will just also mention to you guys a reminder that you do get a nice big sheet of Katoki water slides included with this as well. Now I will be using these on the kit once it's painted up, so these you'll guys be able to see how they look actually on the kit in part 2 of the review once everything's all painted, but you do get plenty of water slides to stick on this. So this is basically made up of kind of 3 sections. So let's just take this off here first. This section of it is the exact same MS cage that you got before, with the version of the Masquerade Unicorn that came out back in 2010. I think it was the Anime Colors version of it that came with the MS cage. Now the only part that's really different is this part down here at the bottom that will connect it to this new base. But everything on here is the same. Each one of these little bits can fold out like that. We got some nice detail in here. Around on the back you have this part which you can remove the lid of, and basically you can store your extra pieces in there, like so your leftover parts like the extra ammo of the beam rifle or whatever, your extra hands, any small bits that you're not using but you want to keep track of and not lose, you can just toss those in that little box, close up the lid on that, and then the really nice thing about this new base is that it just basically rests down on there, and it's not really attached to anything, so you might think that it's kind of scary that it's just kind of loose on there, but the cool thing is that it's on this track, so you can basically slide that back a little bit if you want it, or you can slide it forward more if you want to. Now this centerpiece there is going to be kind of getting in the way, so you'll have to move that. So that is the next part, kind of the second of 3 parts of this is the main base here, and you have your main connection in this. So this is where this will plug onto the back side of the Unicorn that I mentioned before, where it's plugged onto. So this is your main wire for your LEDs. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different points where you can plug this into there on the base. And if you were to plug that into the furthest front section there, then once this is dropped down into place, you can bring that all the way to the front there, so that if you were displaying this with the Unicorn within the cage there, it would be basically located in the center of the base like that. Whereas if you wanted to have the Unicorn like launching out of the base or something like that, you can maybe move the actual cage further back have all these opened up like so, and then you can have your Unicorn there plugged onto the base, launching out or doing whatever. The actual access for the LED unit is down here. This part will fold up, and then you got your on-off switch, and then the button for the LED to switch between LED modes, which we'll take a look at once the LEDs are installed. But that box there is going to take 3 AA batteries. Now, really unfortunate that Bandai didn't go the route of having this plugged in to like just a regular USB wire or something that you can plug into your wall. Now, of course, the problem is that a lot of countries have different type of wall adapters for their electricity, so I think honestly the best bet would have been for them to make it just to go to a USB, but if you want to do that, you'll have to just modify yourself. Basically in here you just have to make it run off of 3 AA batteries. So back to this part of the arm, you can rotate this of course around side to side, and then it works basically as a normal action base here. You have this kind of bridge piece there which will allow you to change the main angle of that like that. And then you have this switch here on the back, which will allow you to change how far you want this to be extended out. So that's going to be the maximum extension there, and then back down to there. And this other switch here on the side, which you'll flip up, and that will allow you to change the angle of this here. So you can choose your angle, lock that down into place, and then it's stuck like that, like this. So this works really well. And the third part of the base then would be the stands for the shields. Now you have 3 of these, and this is where those are meant to be plugged in. The wires going to the battery pack all come out here at the back of the base, and then they plug into your individual shield stands. So those can be stored there at the back like you see there, or they can be stored out separately on their own like this. Now as you can see, you have a couple of points of articulation in here. The wire runs through the main arm of that and then out the back, and then you have this wheel at the bottom with the wire coiled up, and you have 1 meter of wire. Now I guess probably 20 centimeters or so of that will be just going through this kind of section there, so you maybe have about 75 80 centimeters, something like that, maybe about 75 I would guess, just on the safer side of room to go. So you can just wheel out however much wire that you need to be able to plug that into the base. And the problem is if you turn that wheel, as you can see in the center there, it's twisting the wire, which seems kind of like a really weird design why they would even bother having it as a wheel. So I wouldn't recommend turning the wheel. What I would recommend is actually just raising that wheel a little bit like that, like you do, and then you unravel however much wire you need, and then push the wheel back down into place, and then just use it like that. Don't actually turn the wheel. So it kind of sucks that if you wanted to have your shield out like here, your main base there, and your shield stand over here, you got to have this kind of ugly wire going to the back of the stand like that. It's not really very sightly, but there's kind of, I guess, just not really any good way around that. So your shield will just plug onto here, so then you can of course change the angle of that. Now unfortunately you can't angle it like to the side like that. You can only angle it up and down and then just turn it. Basically that's the only options for this, but easy enough to plug that into there. I can show you guys how the LED is going to look when this is lit up. Now you have to push the button a couple times to get to the lighting sequence to light up the shields, but once you get to that, there you go, that will light up very nicely like that. So the shields will only light up in green. The shields won't light up in orange because the shield funnels, when they're supposed to be flying on these bits, I should say that the lights inside here only light up in green. If you had it plugged onto the arms, then it can light up in red because the arms lit up in red like that. But if you're having the shields out away from the kit as funnels flying on their own, on this base here, it'll only light up in green. These LEDs don't turn red because of course the Unicorn only used the shields as funnels during the final battle when it was using the green psycho frames. So there's just a kind of idea of how that's going to be lit up. It works pretty well. This odd pattern that's inside the psycho frame there, I didn't really like that aspect of the design, but I guess they just had to make it like that so that this would light up better. Otherwise, if this was just one clear segment of plastic, it wouldn't really be very lit up if you had an LED trying to light that up, unless you had some sort of texture in there for the light to catch to look like that part is lit up. So don't really like the look of that kind of pattern inside there, but I understand the need to have that in order to get the light channeled through those sections. So then one last thing that you can do with the base here is store the weapons. So just like you could do before, if you don't have the MS cage attached on there, you can store the weapons like this, the beam magnum there, and the bazooka there on the other side. Now you can choose to kind of collapse it more by removing that ammo clip there out the back, but just so you guys have the idea, you can display those weapons on there like that, which is kind of nice, but you can't do that if you have the MS cage attached on here as well. You probably have to remove those and then put them back on, but maybe not. So it seems like the bazooka is not going to want to fit in there, but the beam magnum can still be stored in there once you have the MS cage on. But what you can do once you have the MS cage on there is that you can store the shields in the back here. So underneath the little toolbox there is like slots for the top of the shields to be able to slot into there like that. So you can actually store the shields in there in the back if you wanted to. Again, something that I think probably not a lot of people are going to want to do, but if for whatever reason you wanted to store your shields there, you can keep them on there like that. Alright, so before I pull out my old Ver.Ka for some comparisons, one more thing I did want to talk to you guys about that I didn't really notice or mention in the unboxing video is that pretty much all of the gates on the armor of this are undergated, so if you guys were wondering about that, almost all of the gates. Now there was a few that were not undergated, they were just kind of your normal gates that you'll have to remove on there, but that's very obviously in preparation for the ultimate release of the Phoenix, which we all know is going to be coming for this. There will undoubtedly be an MGEX Phoenix. Whenever that day comes, just know that almost all of the nub marks on this will be hidden as they are under gates on the armor. And also, and I know the Phoenix won't be using this same Unicorn's horn, but if for whatever reason they have like a plated version or a titanium version of this kit, just to let you guys know about the gate placement on this Unicorn's horn, I noticed, I think on other versions of the kit, the gate was usually like on the front of the horn, which left a nub mark there, but the gate was like on the back of the horn right here, where it's basically like in front of the camera and somewhere where you're not really ever gonna see it. So if there's like a titanium version or a plated version or something of this particular kit, even the gate placement here on the Unicorn horn was done in a way that it should be hidden from any nasty nub marks as well too. Alright, so here is a comparison with the old original Master Grade Ver.Ka over here on this side, and forgive the fact that it's kind of dirty and gross looking and the head is in destroy mode. I know this was actually a kit that was broken, and so I got it for free off of someone else who had it broken. I had fixed it, and I haven't really done anything else with it since then. But anyway, you guys can see the difference here. Most noticeably in the legs is going to be the biggest difference that kind of jumps out at me. Of course, the old Ver.Ka has that very Katoki, super long legs there. And this is even before it's transformed. Obviously, when it gets transformed into destroy mode, the legs get even longer. But you can see just how much fatter, stockier the legs are on the new kit. But definitely you can also notice right away the difference in detail, as well as then this kit doesn't really have very much detail on it at all. The little bits of added detail around here on the new MGEX do really look really nice, and they may not seem like a lot, but definitely side by side is a very noticeable difference in just how nice the little bits of added detail look on the new kit here. So there's definitely some pros and cons there. Undoubtedly, the new MGEX is the far better kit in almost every way, but I do still think the old kit does have nicer proportions generally, in my personal opinion, but you know, obviously the new kit is going to be the better one of the two. But I've also heard that the full armor parts from the original Ver.Ka full armor kit should work on this, so I want to give that a try here by removing the backpack, and we'll try by first just starting off seeing how this first part just attaches onto the backpack, and then if this works, then of course we can also attach the fuel tanks and all that other good stuff. But it looks like that fits into there exactly as it should. There we go, it fits. Voila, haha, that's cool. Alright, so very cool that they designed that in a way that the old full armor parts will work with this. Now I assume we're probably going to see a version of the full armor Master Grade EX come out later as its own separate kit, but in case you can't wait for it to come out as its own kit, if you have the Master Grade Ver.Ka full armor kit already, you can put those parts on your new Master Grade EX. I gotta say, I was a little worried about the weight issues, but it seems to be just fine. Now I don't have this totally fully loaded up, obviously, with all of the full armor parts, but I mean, just as far as the action base, the stand part there, being able to hold up the weight of the Unicorn there with that massive backpack on anyway, it's working out just fine. Now the arms being able to hold up the weight of the beam Gatling guns and the hyper beam javelin and the shields attached onto there, I've got no doubt in my mind that it'll be able to hold the weight of those very well. Like I said, the joints on this kit are very strong. So as far as backwards compatibility goes, I think it passes with flying colors there. But alright, so then before we get this guy transformed into destroy mode and we can wrap up this review, we've got one last accessory to go over here, and that is the accessory parts here that you'll need to make the triple shield. And you may have noticed that the bases for the shield have this weird pattern at the front of them, and that is so that you can lock all three of these together like so, and then you'll need to mount the arms together in a way so that all the lights are going to the shields. But first we need to just connect all three of the shields together here with these connection pieces. Actually, what you need to do first is get all of your beam Gatling guns mount it onto this piece here first. And once those are locked into place in this kind of spinning Beyblade of death here, then you can lock the shields into there, like so. There you go. Looks very nice. And as I said, you kind of have to maneuver these arms in a way so that they're going to be able to plug into all these here, which might take a little bit of maneuvering. But there you go. There's how that's going to look. And yeah, it looks a bit weird with the arms there on the back, and you can kind of change that. You can mess with it a little bit more if you want. Then you'll need to plug these wires all into the base. If you wanted to actually have those lit up, you can have them in destroy form, I suppose. Destroy mode. What am I talking about? It's like I haven't been building unicorn kits for 10 years. There you go. Anyway, yeah, so you can have those transformed like that if you want, and then of course with those all plugged in, they'd be all lit up and looking very cool and all that. Not something that I'm gonna end up doing with mine, but it's cool that you can do that. This is the first version of the unicorn where you can do this with what is included with the actual kit. And of course you could do this with the perfect grade if you got the special like expansion parts for that, if you bought the final battle version, I guess I should say, of that. And so it's pretty cool that you can actually make this with just this base kit, what you get included here. And so that is the last real point that I want to drive home before we get this transformed into destroy mode. Before you even have the aspect of the fact that this kit transforms, you just have so much stuff in the box with this kit, aside from also the LED sheath not included in the Gundam and in the waterside decals, which I don't have on the Gundam yet, but all this stuff you have to do to play with this kit. Now I think if they were gonna make a really true like full version of the unicorn, like the best ultimate version of the unicorn, I think they should have gone ahead and put in all the parts to make the full armor. You have 3 shields and 3 sets of the double beam Gatling guns in here. You kind of already have like half the full armor set in here. Just give you some more backpack parts, a second hyper bazooka there, the missile pods and all that. Maybe would have added an extra $20, $30 to an already admittedly very expensive kit. Yeah, but I mean, if you want to do like the full ultimate version, then why not, you know, just make an already expensive kit just a little bit more expensive, why not, and then just make it the full armor Gundam with this. I think probably could have been a nice thing just to have as unicorn fans go. I mean, you might want to have just that full set, and you know, whether you want to use the full armor set with it or not, you know, be up to you. And so the list of posing options for this kit is going to be very long, however you want to equip it, with the shields, without the shields, with the Gatling guns, without the Gatling guns, with the beam magnum, without the beam magnum, with it stored on the back, with a bazooka stored on the back, or with it transformed into destroy mode or unicorn mode, or in the MS cage, or without the MS cage, just launching off the base. Or there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this kit, so there's definitely no shortage of options that you can do with this. Oh, and did I fail to mention to you guys that these beam saber effect parts can also be stored up on the underside of the base as well too? Because just in case you didn't want to lose those, you can put them up underneath the base and they don't fall out or anything, so pretty cool. Let's pause real quick to explain exactly how this knee transformation goes, because it's different from other versions of the unicorn so far, and it's definitely the best version of this knee transformation that I've seen so far. Now, just like on the back, I said you have these flaps that allow for better knee articulation, a better knee bend. There are flaps on the front too. You need to pop those out first, and it's good to have a set of tweezers or something on handy. My fingernails aren't long enough to just be able to do this with my nails. You just pop those out, pop that part up there at the top, then you can fold this whole part down now. So far, it's kind of familiar aside from these flaps there like that. But then how the knee transforms, you need to kind of angle this right, and then you need to pull out this part. And it says just do it by hand, but again, I kind of have a better time doing it just with these. Pull out the cycle frame until it clicks, like that. And then these flaps actually have a little peg on the inside of there that will close up to lock this into place, so this won't be able to be accidentally pushed back down into the knee or anything. So those will close up, and that's locked in there, and that can't go back in. So that's actually really good. And then you have this part will clip into a little clip there on the front, there, and then the top part also just pops onto a little peg there. And so this knee transformation now is super secure there like that, and I think this is definitely the best version of this we've seen out of all the transforming unicorn kits so far. Here it is all transformed. I gotta say, the transformation on this kit definitely, not only just that knee section, but the rest of it I think also very good. Probably the best version of this transformation. Now the RG was quite good and quite solid, but I think this is even better in some ways. Not only the knee there, but actually the transformation in the forearm is actually super simple and works really well. It feels really solid as well. It's also an area that's been kind of an issue with other different versions of the Unicorn. Sometimes that forearm transformation is kind of weird and doesn't really want to work super easily. This one's super easy. You just drop the wrist down, pop the side of the arm out, and it just locks into place. Very solid. Also, the transformation of the front skirt is simplified from the old Master Grade. It's like the RG where that front part just slides off to the side. There's no like actual like mechanism in there for it really. It just slides and that's it, really simple. And kind of the same thing with the shoulder armor as well too. You have like the vent on the side of the shoulder armor that needs to flip out, but then the rest of it just kind of slides out and the top part just kind of automatically pops up with that. So it's also a pretty easy transformation there of the shoulder section also. So overall, transformation of this kit, very good, feels solid once it's transformed. Nothing feels like flimsy or anything about it, which is great. And of course, the most important thing is it looks good as well too. And I think the bulkiness of the legs that I wasn't really too big of a fan of with it in Unicorn mode is certainly not as noticeable once you have it transformed. Once you have the legs extended out now in its destroy mode, I think the proportions of it are a lot nicer, and it's just a shame because I do really love the Unicorn Gundam in its Unicorn mode, but with this particular version, I'm definitely preferring it more in the destroy mode. So there you have it, guys. At the end of a very long review, I know, and not even covering the LED aspect of this kit definitely brings a lot to the table, but it certainly comes at a very high cost. So understandably, this version of the Unicorn Gundam not really going to be appealing to everyone, mostly I think just because of that high price tag. But if the price is something that you can stomach and you're looking for a really great kit of the Unicorn Gundam, then this certainly fits the bill. I mean, the transformation is great, the added details on it are nice, the articulation is very good, it doesn't have any issues with any loose joints or any parts feeling like really flimsy or anything like a lot of pretty much any other version of the Unicorn has in one way or the other. You have the full LED aspect just like with the Perfect Grade, but unlike the Perfect Grade, you can actually do action poses with this. The Perfect Grade you can't really do much with because it's just so big and heavy. It can't really do much as in the way of like dynamic poses or anything. So this kit really does bring together all the best aspects of other versions of the Unicorn Gundam all into one kit. The fact that this kit does use some old parts for the weapons and the MS cage doesn't really particularly bother me, but I can understand how that might bother some people. Just if you're going to be paying so much for a kit, you would hope that the entire thing is an entirely new kit. But while the Gundam itself is 100% new, it may be a little bit disappointing that some of the extra accessories are not. So I think that is another fair point to make against it. But at the end of the day, guys, I would definitely recommend this kit. Like I said, if you don't mind the price and if you're in the market for another Unicorn kit, a lot of people already have 1, 2, 3, 4 different Unicorn kits already. And that's the other thing too. If you maybe prefer the Banshee or you prefer the Phoenix or something, you can bet that Bandai is going to be making plenty of other variations of this kit. So if you prefer the Banshee, then I would say maybe just wait and don't necessarily spring for this kit straight away. Just again, unless you don't mind paying that really super high price for this twice by getting this kit, and then your preferred version later on once that comes out as well. But I don't know, it's still yet to be seen what other versions will come with, if future versions will also include the MS cage or possibly not. I think it's feasible that when the Banshee comes out, or the Banshee Norn, however it ends up coming out, it certainly won't have the triple shield funnels and all that, so I think it's probably safe to say the Banshee will probably actually be a little bit cheaper than the Unicorn in this case. But that is going to do it for part 1 of the review, guys. I'm going to get to work on disassembling the kit, which I will also be live streaming, so if you guys are interested in how to disassemble this kit, I'll live stream that process, so just make sure you tune in for that. And if you missed the live stream, you can always watch it later as well. And then I'll be getting to work on getting it prepped for painting it, and so there'll probably be a couple of work in progress videos as well, just covering that process. And then then once it is all done, I have it all finished and the LEDs installed and all that, I'll do kind of a second kind of final review on the kit where you guys will be able to see what it looks like when it's actually all lit up and everything and painted and all that. So it should look pretty cool. I'm very excited to be working on this kit. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in for this first part of the review. I really appreciate it. And of course, once again, really appreciate USA Gundam Store as well for making it all possible, guys. So check the link down below, check out USA Gundam Store. I really appreciate you guys doing that, and all the support you guys give me. Thank you all so much. Liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all of that helps a lot. So thank you guys so much for your support as always. And if you have any other further questions or comments, of course, do feel free to leave those down below. There was a lot to cover in this review, but I'm sure there's still some things that I missed. So just let me know down in the comments if you have any other further questions. And hope you guys are all having a great day. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.